said, I would take some notes if I were in your shoes. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things here when it comes to finals week. In this class, there's not a final exam. Right? Wouldn't exactly make a lot of sense. Make you sit down, answer questions about line variation, I guess. I don't know. But no, there's no final exam here. What I do in a lot of studio courses like this is finals week is when you turn in your portfolio and your sketchbook. Now, I'm going to go into what exactly I'm expecting from the portfolio here in a moment. But I'm just going to explain first what's going to happen. So, in our case, Monday, November 29th, I will give you, and this is one of the things I'd make a note about. I'll give you 10 minutes before and 10 minutes after that time. So you've got a 20-minute window, anywhere from 6:20 to 6:40, to bring your work in here, bring your portfolio and your sketchbook in here to turn them in. At 6:40, I close the door, I get to work, and if you come knocking, I'm going to be like I never knew you, because I got stuff to do, all right? You've got 20-minute window to bring stuff in. So you'll bring your portfolio, which again I'll get into in a moment, and your sketchbook. There'll be signs in here that tell you where to put the sketchbook, where to put your portfolio. You'll put them in those places, and then you will go away. While at 6:40, as I said, I close the door. I even put like a piece of cloth in front of that window because I don't want to be bothered. And I start grading sketchbooks and portfolios. Then it says here, pick up at 9, but it's not going to take, there's only 4 of you. It's not going to take me that long to grade all of your stuff. All right, this was with the expectation of there being a full-size class in here. But with there just being 4 of you, no problem. I'll get it done before then. I'll send out an email to all of you to let you know you can come back and pick it up. If, for some reason, you don't believe that you're going to be able to get back here to pick up your stuff that night, tell me so like ASAP. Right? Because there's nothing quite like, because the thing is, that says 9 o'clock. So I'll sit here and wait until 9 o'clock. If I've got one portfolio sitting here, I'll sit and wait until 9 o'clock. And it'd be a shame if I'm sitting here waiting until 9 o'clock and that person doesn't show up. If they had just told me that they weren't going to show up, I could have gone home and ate my dinner a lot sooner. All right? So if you're not going to be able to be back either by 9 or probably much earlier, it'll probably be more like 7:30. It probably won't take me, I doubt it'll take me more than an hour to get through the 4 of you. If you don't think you'll be able to be back by then, either tell me before you leave, or if something comes up after you leave, email me just so I know not to expect you. In which case, at the end of that time, I will take your portfolio and your sketchbook around behind this partition here. It's the sculpture area. I'll put it back there, and you can come by sometime on your own time and get it out of that area. All right? Your portfolio. This is something else I'd take a note of. Your portfolio should contain everything you have done for this class, both in the class and homework. Everything from day 1 to the week before finals. And I want it in chronological order. So if you've been writing the dates on stuff, you should be in good shape. And I want you to organize it in some neat fashion. How you go about that is up to you. I'll give you some examples of what people have done. I've had people stick a piece of cardboard in the middle and put all the homework in chronological order on one side and all of the in-class work in chronological order on the other side, and put a label on each side so I know which side's homework and which side is classwork. I've had students get clips and clip together each unit. So here's where we were working with linear perspective. Clip and put a label on that. Here's where we were working with planar analysis. Clip, label. Here's all of the gestural and contour stuff, clip and labeled, and so on. I've had people put in dividers between the different units as well. And then they're not dividing it up, between homework and classwork. They're dividing it up between the units and then with chronological order within that. But I want it to look good. Organize it in some fashion so that whatever I'm looking for in there, I'm going to be able to find easily. All right? If your portfolio like I said, well, first off, if you still don't have a portfolio, then you either need to get one or make one. You can make one by just getting yourself a couple of big pieces of cardboard and taping it or stapling it, whichever, on 3 sides, and put your work in the top. But if your portfolio is self-contained, everything is in it, there's nothing missing, it's all in chronological order, and you've organized it in an interesting way, that's the easiest A you're going to make in the class. That A comes down if there are things missing, or if the portfolio has been put together sloppy, or it's not organized, or it's not self-contained. Because it never fails, even though I say it several times throughout the semester that you need a portfolio. Come this finals day, there will be somebody who will walk in with all their paper just in a big stack and just toss that down. And yeah, I'm knocking off at least a letter grade for that. I mean, get your stuff contained in something, all right? Don't just walk in with a bunch of loose paper and toss it down. Like, 52 card pickup or something. Have it contained. All right? So, portfolio, your sketchbook, which hopefully you have been working in since midterm. If you haven't, you've got just, 3 weeks to make it look like you've been working at it for more than 3 weeks. I put comments in everybody's sketchbooks at midterm. It should suggest to you what you should be doing that you may have been lacking. All right? And then again, like I said, your portfolio, sketchbook, drop them off, go away. I'll email you to let you know when to come back. Also, during that time, I take advantage of that time to take the photographs that you guys see of former students' work. If I take any photographs of your work, there will be a note inside your portfolio that lets you know that. If I took any photos of your sketchbook, there'll also be a note in there to let you know. If that's the case, and you're like, nope, I am a very private person, and I don't want images of my work to be out there for students to see, tell me, and I will delete those off of my camera. I've never had a student do that, but should a student ever do that, I will respect it. All right? Questions about any of that? Okay. So here's what's going to happen today. Today is our final day, final week, final day of working in our unfinished to finished technique. I'm going to give you guys a block of 45 minutes. I will call out whenever the, intervals of time. But even more so than last week, I am zipping it. I'm not going to give unsolicited advice. I'll walk around and take a look every now and then, but I'm not going to say anything unless I'm called upon. And even then, only if you have a specific question for me will I answer. If you're just like, what do you think of this? I'm really like, sorry, and I'm going to walk away. But if you've got a specific question of something that you're needing some help with, I'll answer that. But at this point, you guys have been working in this technique for a few weeks. I want you to show off how well you understand it. Then at the end of that 45 minutes, there's a stack of all the drawings that you have done in this technique in class so far over there on that table. What I'm going to want you to do is go through all the drawings that you've done this week and the last two, and choose the one that you feel is the strongest representative of this technique that you have produced. Make sure to mark on the back that that's the one that you would like a grade on, and put it in the homework stack. Because just like at midterm, at midterm, that one's going to receive a grade that will get averaged into your homework. All right? Questions at all? All right. And at that point, we'll talk about homework, and we'll actually get out of here a little early today. Homework. This is the last homework assignment in this particular technique. Will be an exterior with objects. You're going to work from an outdoor view with objects defining the space, like a parking lot with vehicles, a fenced-in patio with furniture, sidewalk with parking meters, etc. It shouldn't just be a big open field. Now, I know that the weather has turned and it's colder outside these days. So if you absolutely need to work from inside looking out of a window, I understand, and that's fine. But if you can't be outside, then go for it. Use freehand perspective, intuitive perspective, and line variation to heighten the illusion of 3 dimensions and the deeper space of an exterior versus a still life. So you're going through the same process that we've been doing. It's the same 3-step process. But in particular, when you're in that final step and you're thinking about your line variation, consider that when you've been drawing from the still life, the most you might get is 2 or 3 feet worth of depth. If you're outside, it could be hundreds of feet. And how do you get us to understand that some things are close to us and some things are super far away? We'll look at examples to sort of get our minds around it. Materials. You may use your graphite or your charcoal pencils this time around, 2, 4, and 6B. The reason is that sometimes by now, students' charcoal pencils are starting to get pretty short. So if you want to use graphite, you may. And the good quality white paper, again, which I forgot to set out, but if you guys go, it should be the very smack dab middle drawer in that metal cabinet over there is where the white paper should be. Get yourself a sheet of that before you go. All right. So, again, the same 3-step process. Working loosely, gesturally, blocking in your composition, then coming in with your 4B, putting down the confident line work, lastly coming in with your 6B and your eraser, and thinking about line variation. Only this time, you really are going to be thinking about a huge amount of depth and how to portray that. So, it's the difference in, say, these really nice, dark, thick lines that are around this vehicle, especially the front of the vehicle, versus the kind of layer of objects immediately behind it, versus getting way back here to these trees that are in the distance, one of which has some confident line work, one of which still has the more gestural line marking, and then I can see some back here that they took the eraser to erase them down, to give us that sense of things being really, really far away. This student decided to work with graphite. This is when I worked at Memphis College of Art. This person went on to the Rhodes campus. her boyfriend attended there. And she's working with graphite, which allowed for her to have some super, super thin, crisp, really light lines when things are really far away, and to really press down nice with that 2B and get some good dark, dark lines on the things that are really close, giving us a sense that that is super, super far away, and this is much closer in our space. This student who has these two beams, these two wooden beams, they were up on like a rooftop, and these two beams were laying here, and these parts are really close. Those are really far away. Look at just the way they chose to make these lines really dark and thick, and then just keeps getting thinner and thinner and thinner and crisper as it goes back there. The areas that are the furthest away, it looks like for this part of the building here, they erased those lines down from the look of it. And back here, they just left the gestural marks for the trees. Didn't even bother going over that with any other kind of confident lines. This pipe, where it's close to us, look at those nice, thick, dark lines and how that pushes that really far forward in space, versus as we get out here and those lines become much thinner and much crisper. This drawing isn't the greatest. I should replace it sometime, but I always have it in here to show you I don't mind if you want to work from a window. The student didn't do a great job of thinking about the line variation. They've got some things that are really dark, that are far away. Like there are lines around these buildings back here that are darker than the window, and the window should be the closest thing to us. You got a tree here that's lighter than the car right behind it. So it's not the best example of that, but I always keep it because it does at least showcase someone looking out a window and getting an interesting composition. This person had an apartment that was up on an upper floor, so they just went out to their balcony and drew the balcony and everything they could see immediately beyond it. Now they got some perspective mistakes in it. Stop that. Lines that don't want to meet up right, but not too big of a deal. Now, if like them, you've got some buildings and things where you want to come in with some nice straight lines, after you've done that initial step where you've blocked things out with the looser line work, if you want to bring a ruler into it to get these kinds of lines, I don't mind that. That's the same kind of thing that happened with this student here too, right? I don't mind that, but you should be getting your initial drawing down freehand first. If I zoom in on this, you can see right in there, a little bit up in here, where they were making those marks by hand first, and then came in with the ruler later. And they just hung this here because they were like, you know what, I don't have enough objects defining the space. So they hung this here and stuck a little plant there. This person working, I gave them a hard time because it's like, wait a minute, I told you I needed an exterior. And then they explained that this was the staircase on the outside of the building where they lived. Like, okay. But, pretty solid as far as the line variation, right? The things that are close to us, really nice and dark, and then becoming super thin. And we get all the way out here, and the lines are barely even there. I think they may have worked with graphite as well. Okay, that's the last one. All right, questions about it at all? Yes?
Graphite and
no, they don't like to get along. Was it not in this class that I showed you guys that picture? Maybe that was the other class. Let me show you something. So it's a photo I always remember being in the drawing 2 class. What? It's in this? Yeah. Where this student, for whatever reason, even though I kept saying don't mix graphite and charcoal, the student kept doing it. Now the drawing's fine. It is still one of my examples, but you can see because he did his initial, step 1 portion of the drawing in graphite, and then when you put the charcoal over the charcoal just flakes right off where the graphite was, and you end up with these little things right here where it looks like you scratched into the paper. When that's not the case, these are just graphite lines that when the charcoal went over it just flaked and fell off. So yeah, no, you can even see like here where he was sort of making his ellipse right here for where the hat should go around his head. You can even see that line right there. That's the kind of thing that I want you to avoid. All right. Any other questions? All right. Make sure before you leave that you get a sheet of that white paper out of those drawers over there, and you're good to go. Have a good week. I told you we would get out a little early today. It's even more than a little early. So enjoy it. Do whatever you could do with an extra hour and 15 minutes in your life. And I'll see you guys on Monday of next week.